What is up, Roto Grinders? Opening day baseball. Super excited about the prospect of playing MLB DFS for the next 6 months. And I got nobody better than Blender. Can you hear the feedback, by the way? I accidentally had my, and that's a good start. Are we doing this live? We are doing this live. We'll just kind of power on through. It's Blender. Blender, you might know him from such things as the show you watched an hour and a half ago or so. You already knocked out. Well, you were talking like the bat with Derek Carty, just talking about constructing lineups. We're gonna have that conversation. Of course, crunch time's coming in at I think 2:30. You get Dave Potts. Cheese is good. The GOAT. With Potts and Carty, that's a pretty good 1 and 1A. However you want to figure it out. I love our baseball staff. That's our baseball specific guys, and then you got guys like Blender and myself and Kirkwood, and the roster is really good. You're gonna want to stick with us for baseball all season long. Next 6 months, we're not tired of it just yet. Maybe like in 5 months. In 3.5 weeks, I'll be like, oh no, baseball still, Blender. But right now, I am super excited. We already have some rainouts. Of course, DK and FanDuel could not cooperate when it comes to the slate. So FanDuel slate starts at 3-ish. DK slate starts at 4-ish. We're going to be breaking it down, discussing it, talk a little SimLabs. SimLabs currently in beta, meaning it's free. We're also going to be giving away some free RG Premium, a week free of RG Premium, to those hanging out in chat. What's up, chat? Hit that like button, do subscribe, do turn on those notifications, do all those things to help us keep the lights on. Favorite there's no specific qualifier, Blender. I mentioned this to you pre-show. Welcome, by the way. And I was like, yeah, we have permission to give away some RG Premium. And maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4, depending on. But you're like, I was like, maybe I'm not giving Blender enough options. So you're like, I can't find 3 people I want to give RG Premium to. You let alone 1, right? We'll see. But maybe we'll figure it out.
Chad hates me typically. Why am I going to give around to people that they're like, this guy just presses buttons and he doesn't know what does what? I'm used to NBA, by the way, Dean. Are we going to start out with 20 minutes of like who's on the injury report? I'm used to that.
Body parts.
So with MLB DFS, obviously it's just like NBA, where Josiah Gray is questionable. Zach Eflin, who knows if he's going to pitch. Frankie Montas is who knows what's going to happen there. We're going to have, batting orders that are going to be, is Chisholm going to play for the Marlins? So you're telling me MLB is not like NBA? Because if you're telling me that
it's not.
When batting orders come out and pitchers get announced that they actually do play, I'm actually looking forward to playing DFS this season.
By the way, I'll tell you who's not sick of you is Adam. Adam is saying his Blender is greater than Dean in chat. There you go. Small sample size, but maybe you're right. Speaking of lineups, by the way,
years, Steve. I've been here for 5 years. That's not a small sample size.
No, I'm saying that's the one person's opinion. That's just one person's. It's a small sample size of one person saying that you are better, and maybe you are. Again, I'm not here to fight about that. Speaking of lineups, we have all the lineups we need, right? With the exception of, I believe, the Pirates. I think the Pirates are the only team that have yet to release a lineup, and maybe it has something to do with Brian Reynolds. Brian Reynolds is dealing with a back. So maybe he's doing something pregame to kind of figure out if he can give it a go or not. But yeah, it is the beautiful thing. Imagine that, knowing who's playing in a game, professional $1 billion league, more than an hour in advance, more than 30 minutes in advance. Imagine that. Yeah, the Cincinnati Reds gave us their lineup like 10 o'clock this morning. They are notoriously the best at giving lineups. If you were betting such things on which team is the first team to drop their lineup on a given day, the Reds are the chalk. They are the Dodgers because they always seem to be on time when it comes to their lineup. Speaking of the Reds, they're going to be super popular on the slates. And by the way, not really watching the games. We were talking about this pre-show. You're not a big watcher of the game. You're kind of saying people will criticize you for that. And I think you're great for baseball because, and I shouldn't have that qualifier. You're just great, Blender. But,
so the guy's the sample size is good. The guy's right. So you agree. Right. So even you agree. Okay, that's fine. I'll take that.
Oh, the Pirates lineup is in, according to Tim in chat. I wonder so we have all the lineups. This is amazing. It really is spectacular. Every once in a while you get a leg scratch, of course, but did I miss the Pirates lineup? It must have just dropped on me, and I have not seen it.
Is it weird, Dean? You want to start the season on a weird thing? One of the few hitting props I have is in the Pirates lineup that I've never heard of, but this exemplifies my style of DFS and
is it Henry Davis
props that I have no idea who Jared Triolo is.
Yeah.
I do have is over half a total base pro.
Middle infielder. Looks like he's going to be batting about 7th or so. Looks like Connor. Oh, different lineup. O'Neal Cruz, I was digging into him, and we'll talk about all this kind of stuff later on. But small sample stuff, like 100 at bats or so. I think he had a 50% strikeout rate for his lefties last year. Now, people love O'Neal Cruz. He's one of the most fun players to watch in baseball. Maybe you've seen a highlight of him on Twitter accidentally. He is spectacular. He was crushing in spring, but he strikes out so much versus lefties. I thought it was pretty interesting. They kind of buried him in the lineup there. That wouldn't be the same if it was against a righty, but he is hitting 6 tonight or today versus Jesus Luzardo, who's going to be super, super chalk on DK because the price is pretty appealing and the ballpark is really good. But what I was trying to say, Blender, is that, you don't really need to watch the games in baseball. Like, you can make that argument, and obviously other sports, you don't have to watch the games either. This one more so than others. And I always like to give the speech, because this is some people, first time playing MLB DFS, and you mentioned basketball. On a given day in basketball, LeBron James is going to go out there and score, I don't know, at least 30 fantasy points, 40, 45, 50, maybe 60, maybe 65 if he's really feeling it. The best players, the projections are more, while it does feel, while you're actually like Lonnie Walker, right? If people still have that, it feels like sometimes the projections are not as precise as they could be in basketball. They're so much better than baseball, because baseball, it's event-based. Best hitter in baseball, Acuna, can go out there and go. He's not playing today, obviously, but as an example, most expensive player, best fantasy player, you can go 0 for 5, hit 4 rockets or just at the wrong spot, or just strike out a couple times, and his floor is 0. And your boy, Jared Triolo, could hit 2 home runs and be the highest scoring player on the slate. And that's not shocking. And you're never going to get the 13th man of the basketball team. All of a sudden you split up 40 or 50 fantasy points. It doesn't work that way. And that leads to the whole, I guess everybody's a TPP play joke, I suppose. But yeah, what else would you tell people, Blender? And if you have any, this is my first time ever playing MLB DFS, give me a quick little tutorial. There's stuff on, there's articles on the site on RotoGrinders as well. But is there any sort of quick little, these 3 bullet points you should know for baseball?
Well, in general, pitcher outcomes are going to be much more normally distributed than hitter outcomes. Hitter outcomes are not normally distributed at all. In fact, they're curved. They're it's like a concave curve, the reverse hockey stick type of curve. There are going to be a lot of zeros, a lot of 2s, 3s, 5s in players' ranges of outcomes, no matter how good they are, no matter no matter how much power they have, how much more likely they're going to hit to a base. So you're right, hitters' floors are 0. Pitchers, they're going to pitch 80 to 100 pitches. That it's going to be much more stable. So when in doubt, projection means for pitchers are much more reliable than projection means for hitters. And there are a lot of hitters that are very binary. So you're gonna get a lot of hitters that they either strike out or they hit a home run. Their projection is gonna look like 8 or 9, and they're rarely gonna score 8 or 9 points. Their distribution is gonna look almost a little bit humpy in a way. So just be aware that baseball DFS is not necessarily a projection-driven sport, and from a median standpoint, from the middle standpoint, and correlation could make up a lot of projection value because all hitters in the lineup are correlated to each other. And I want to highlight a point that people ask me a lot of the time about, well, do I stack 4? Do I stack 5? Do I stack 3? Correlation is your friend, right? If you have
a little more so on FanDuel, just obviously both sides, but a little bit more so on FanDuel.
Right, a little bit more so on FanDuel, only because you get a little extra for a run and an RBI, so it adds up a little bit more. But in general, the reason why all hitters are correlated to each other, people think a lot of the correlation comes from guy gets on base, this guy hits him in, then this guy walks, and then hits guy home run. So it kind of stacks up like that. But most of the correlation comes from the fact that if the team is hitting well and not getting outs, the plate appearance expectation goes up. If I were to tell you today that there's going to be a team that most of their order gets 6 at-bats today, 6 plate appearances.
Oh, I want to stack that
I'm pretty
team.
sure that team probably scored a lot of runs because not many outs were scored in order for them to bat 6 times.
They have to. That's how math works. Is there's nowhere else. They have to go home.
So
Yeah.
Imagine a play if you had a player that no matter what the price is, one guy's going to bat 3 times and one guy's going to bat 6 times. I'm going to take the guy that bats 6 times because he has he has twice as much opportunity to score points than the other person. So think in those terms where if you're stacking the Reds today, well, it doesn't have to be 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't have to be 3, 4, 6, or a gap. If you take any 5 batters, right? When in doubt, just correlation is there in baseball, especially because of plate expectation. And like you said before, because every hitter's floor is essentially 0, it's okay to leave money on the table. It's a stack that barely costs nothing. You know, you get at the bottom of the order, some guy hits 2 home runs, or at the bottom of the Giants order or something like that, they could outscore the Dodgers today. So don't be so compelled to spend all of your salary on hitters. On pitchers, that's fine because pitcher projections are much more normally distributed. And on the case where every player's floor is 0, like you mentioned, Ronald Acuna could go 0 for 5 and score 0 points. Jared Triolo.
And it's not even. It's not surprising. It's not surprising.
It's not surprising. That's well within his range of outcomes. All I could say is maybe this season, there are certain games where Shohei Ohtani's floor is more likely to be 0.
Oh boy, this is.
I don't know which games those are, but they're probably made. They could be. They could be, or at least in the past, maybe.
By the way, TJ in chat hanging out. I see Tim hanging out. I see Alex. It's awesome to see Alex back. Awesome. He does awesome content for Baseball Axante. TJ says Spidey bombs are incoming. Spidey, I know TJ, the TJ household. They added one a couple days ago. Shout out to TJ and the family and all of Saskatoon, Canada. Had a child, but Spidey's still working. Spidey bombs incoming at 50 likes. 50 likes, we get yourself a Spidey bomb. And Spidey, I don't know. I don't know if his Spidey sense is working. It's opening day. The other tricky thing is, I'm super excited for opening day. Everybody is best pitchers. You got the best pitchers and like the worst weather, right? We're not. There's no cores. There's only 2 games that have a total. 2 teams that have totals above 5. The aforementioned Reds. The ballpark certainly helps that. Facing Josiah Gray, who's got some talent, but he also has a fly ball issue, has a home run issue. Not the best ballpark to do that. They're the Great American Small Park for Cincinnati. So their team total is around 5. The Dodgers have a team total above 5 as well. We're going to be saying that all season long. Like when they're in cores, it's probably going to be like 7 or possibly 8, depending on. But yeah, like expectations are tempered, right? The best pitchers are being rolled out today, and there's a couple exceptions, obviously. We don't know what a Garrett Crochet is just yet. He's got a live arm, but that's your starter today for the White Sox. The White Sox, one of the worst teams in all of baseball, traded away Dylan Cease. I don't even know. I'm trying to think of their number 5 is Soroka. Soroka might be the number 4 or so. But as this week progresses, the pitchers are going to get worse and worse. But I guess that's, and I know Cheese wrote about this too in his article, basically talking about with no clear and obvious, the Dodgers are clear and obvious and the Reds are clear and obvious, but nothing really crazy. There's no total of like 6 or 7. There's no cores. And we have the best pitchers. General strategy. But they're going to go in crunch time. They're going to go position by position. They're going to give you your favorite catchers, your favorite. Blender doesn't play that game. He doesn't want to play that game. He hates that game. Blender, who's your favorite second baseman today? Let's play the game. Who's your favorite second baseman today?
If I would say, I'd go to the bat projections, and the best point per dollar value seems to be Jonathan India on the Reds against Gray. He's also going to be the most owned second baseman. So
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, I mean. India.
All I'd be doing is reading projections, and that seems kind of boring.
And the projections are most volatile. Like they're the best you can get, but it's baseball, and it's really, really hard to project. And the variance is wild that you kind of previously talked about. Interesting that they Ellie De La Cruz batting 6, by the way, versus Gray. Kind of surprising, buried a little bit there. India, Benson, CES, Candelario, their free agent acquisition, Fraley, Steer batting 7th, Martini, and the catcher Stevenson. Yeah. B shot in chat says, "Is what the people want, Blender. Just give us the plays. You just give them the plays.
No, I give
you know
people
the
what
plays.
they need, not what they want. You shouldn't
Well,
want that.
They need a 40-minute diatribe on like this is what may happen. This is the percentage chance and variance and hockey sticks. That's what they need.
No, they need to sign up for Roto Grinders Combo Premium. It's $250 off for a 6-month combo premium package. It's ridiculous. Just click.
Tell me more about that, Blender. Do the rest of the read. Tell me. Well, hold on a second. When you say $250 off, what do you mean by that? Lay that out for me if you don't mind.
I mean $250 American dollars.
Yeah,
that you save
none of those
off a
loonies and
6-month
toonies.
combo premium subscription that covers like all the sports nearly. Right? Maybe not NASCAR. Right? You get
NASCAR.
SimLabs, you get Lineup HQ, you get all of our projections, you get all Cheese's daily $1 million musings, you get everything, all you can eat, right? And if you want to try it out, $19.99 for 3 days. So I mean, there's MMA coming up. You can use that for that. There's college basketball. We got projections.
Good time to do the 3-day pass. You get a big chunk. Golf, golf I guess just kicked off this morning. If you're in the golf, because that tournament
you can use it for showdown golf, Dean. There's always stuff going on, right?
All right.
So you can do that.
Links in the
if you don't want me to read the projections to you, you could just read it yourself.
They're talking about the Reds. Yeah, Reds gal asking about the biggest vomit stack of the day, the Nats. And that's a really interesting. We'll talk about that as well. And you're not just going to tell me. I assume you're not going to tell me, hey, we should just play the Dodgers because the Dodgers project the best. And if you do play the Dodgers, you got to play them different ways. And that's probably a good segue for SimLabs, right? SimLabs, expert DFS lineup generation tool from RG, from Fantasy Labs, available for baseball. If you've used it for basketball, you know what's going on there. Just a few clicks, get hundreds of well-built correlated lineups for whatever contest you're playing. You just got to tell it, like I'm playing in a small field, large field, single entry, that kind of thing. You can add as much variance as you want to add. Be as ambitious as you want to be. I know you have it pulled up there in the screen, Blender. And you also can, I was kind of messing around with pre-show. And again, it's in beta right now, and it's actually free. It's currently free if you want to use that at your own leisure. Now, I don't know if there's been a link that has been established just yet, but the workaround that I had is I pulled up the NBA SimLabs, and you just erase NBA and you type in MLB, and voila,
it's
it pops
in the nav
up.
bar, Dean. They took care of it. You can get there.
There we go. Somebody was on top of it. Made it much easier. But you can say, I want Dodger stacks, or I don't want Dodger stacks, and then you see what those lineups look like. And do you want to run it through a couple iterations? Have you decided, Blender? Because I know you run this. This is something you do. This is part of your process. And then you figure out what your favorite 8, 9, 10, how many minute laps you're going to be firing off in single entry stuff, or 3 entry max. Have you taken a stand yet? Are you saying like, you know what, I'm not going to play the Reds? Like Benson's going to be
I'm
crazy.
Playing large field, Dean. Today,
yeah,
because it's opening day and the contests are good. I'm playing 20 lineups into the 15, and I'm playing 1 to 20 max $4. I'm playing 40 lineups. That's what I'm doing. So I'm going for large field today, right? So a contest field, I click on large field. I want my large field ownership simulations, and I want my results range to be fairly, I mean, it could be high. I mean, it really just comes down to how weird do you want the results set to possibly be. I don't mind to be as weird as, make it weird. I don't care. I'll have something to choose from. Now, I'm generating 150. I'm only going to be choosing 40 out of these, but I always like building as many as possible. Dude, I could build 600, 900. I've no problem building as many as possible. I have no takes or anything. I'm going to go into this advanced section. And depending on what you're looking for, people don't understand a lot of times that SimLabs is not like Lineup HQ. There are no correct settings. The purpose of SimLabs is to not give you bad lineups. Okay? So always operate under the default that you're never going to get a bad lineup. But there are thousands upon thousands of good lineups. And the differences between them could simply be variance, right? If you're going to play a pirate stack against Luzardo, that may actually have a high ROI, but you may barely ever cash.
Blender, right? You need some water there. You're playing a little bit under the weather. You got to power through. I don't want to halt you. Or is that a Monster or Red Bull? What are you drinking there?
It's a Red Bull.
Okay. Fair enough.
But the thing is, these advanced settings you want to tell it that how to come up with the SimLabs rating So how do you want your lineups to be rated? The lineups are the lineups. They're already been simulated. It's just a matter of what do I want to prioritize in the overall rating of a lineup? If I want to prioritize projection, so in theory, if my projection weight was extremely high, it'd be much more likely that the highest rated lineups in SimLabs would be like optimals, right? It would be the good old fashioned Dean's 1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1, right? The good old the 8 stacker, right? Where you're just playing a bunch of one-offs. You're on mute, Dean.
You pick up the 8 guys at Double Dong and you're on your way, Blender. It's not that hard, right? You
Good luck doing that.
The 8 leg parlay, basically.
Right. So projection weight, that's what it's geared toward. It's gonna factor more into the SimLab rating of your lineup, how high the projection is. So like those lineups that have Pittsburgh stacks and all that may be like 15, 20 points lower are not going to rate out very well at all, regardless if they're if they're positive ROI lineups, because you're telling it, I don't want low projected lineups. I want it to rate my lineups by high projection. Ownership. People think it's about projected ownership. Ownership weight has to do with optimal rates. So what players are included in your lineup that are more likely to be optimal in the field size contest that you're in? So if you put the ownership weight high, it doesn't mean give me high-owned lineups. If you put the ownership weight low, it doesn't mean give me low-owned lineups. Ownership only comes into effect of optimal rates. And optimal rates are especially helpful when it comes to starting pitchers. Because remember, batters are so much more variant than pitchers. The optimal rate of any hitter is never going to be that dramatically higher over other hitters because you're most likely stacking them. The one-off hit. Ronald Acuna as a one-off is never going to be like, unless it's a really small slate, like outsized optimal rate. But starting pitchers, like it's quite possible the optimal rates of Glasnow, Skubal, Luzardo, those type of guys, maybe even Crochet, are going to be much higher than some other pitchers on the slate. So if I want to keep to like having more, starting pitcher chalkiness, probably, I'm going to up that ownership weight. Upside weight deals with ceiling, which is very similar to projection. And remember, projection for batters is so highly variant that it's like, yeah, if I put the ceiling high, it's like, well, give me home run hitters. Put the ceiling low, give me, singles and doubles hitters. It really, to me, projection is not the biggest deal in MLB. So I tend to keep my projection and upside weights low. Simulation weights are always going to be high to me because that's what I want, right? It's simulating the games. So I want the outcomes of the games to matter the most. And I want the correlation to matter the most, right? Because that's where a lot of your ceiling comes from, that a team goes off and you have a bunch of them. So I'm just going to put that in right now. You can adjust these all you want. But in general, for baseball, I'm kind of looking for a lot of correlation, a lot of sim, a lot of optimal rates, and give me a bunch of lineups. So I'm just going to put that in with these defaults and give me 150. It takes like a couple of seconds.
Did you want to put any rules? I guess you didn't. As far as like, I definitely want this stack. I definitely don't want that stack.
I have no take. Remember, Dean, I don't watch the games. I have no takes. I have no idea what's going on.
Okay, and then you'll figure it out from here. But the spoiler alert, like the most popular lineups, and you're probably not going to get that because you're adding a bunch of variants. The most popular stuff right now is Cincinnati and the Dodgers, like very, very clearly. If you're playing cash games, I know you're allergic to cash games, and they'll talk about that when they come in for crunch time. TJ and Dave Potts teases good. You're gonna have a pile of Reds and a fair bit of Dodgers, but we're talking about tournaments. You want to beat 40,000 of your closest friends. How do we do it? What do you got?
Right. So I got 150 lineups, and you can see them all right here. And you'll see here, these are the SimLabs rating. And these ratings, this number is based on your weighting. So like lineups that are highly correlated are going to be rated higher. Lineups that are highly optimal are going to be rated higher. Lineups that are the projection of the lineup isn't going to matter that much. Because, I mean, we see here's a lineup that has 102-point projection, a mean projection, with a 92.02 SimLabs rating. Here's one with 96, right? 6 points lower, and its SimLabs rating is like 86.44. So it's like it's not that far off. It's waiting all this. And then you start seeing some of this stuff like here's top 100. So this lineup, SimLabs rating 85.53 based on my weights. It's a Scooble Berrios lineup with basically 4 Astros, 3 Tigers, and a red. Projection is high. Optimal rate, high. In the money rate, very high. Sim weight, okay. But the top 100 is quite low. So to me, if I had a choice between multiple lineups, like this is a lineup that will cash more often for its ROI than win more often because its top 100 rate is much lower. So if I want to include more cash rate into my portfolio of lineups, maybe I can include this lineup, even though it doesn't win as often. But if you want to go with the high variance approach and go, hey, I'm going to sort this by the top 100 rating and just play like the top 40 lineups here, you can absolutely do that. Just understand that your variance is going to go significantly up because a lot of lineups that you're playing may win more often than and not cash as often, right? So some of these lineups, like, look, here's the number one top 100 rated lineup has a SimLab rating in general of 68.9. It's a Yankees 4-man.
0.1 off.
Tigers.
0.1 off.
What?
It was almost 69. Continue. 68.9. I was saying was 0.1.
69. Yeah. You're out here making jokes, right?
No, I just think that's a healthy number.
And you can see here you could even look at the lineup and see what's the reason why it has a high top 100 rate, even though a lot of stuff is not as good. Well, it's playing Josiah Gray, essentially the pitcher against the chalkiest stack of the day. So if the Reds fail and Gray does well, it's much easier to get in the top 100 than you would in other ways. So this is how you could look through lineups. And, based on my weights, I could organize it any way I want. If I don't like a lineup and I want it out of my 150, right, I can click here. I can get rid of it, and it's going to replace it with a new lineup. Okay? So you could do stuff like that. And typically what I do, I can look at these exposures in here. It'll show you the exposures of all your players, the teams, the stack types. So we can see here, 33% of my lineups are 5-2. 70% are 5-3, 12% are 4-2, 11% are 5X, 4-3s.
You're going to cross those out. You hate those. You don't like solo pieces.
Not necessarily. I mean, it depends on the slate. But
okay,
as long as it simulates well, you can still play these lineups. If you want to play the 1.33% of the 2 1-1-1-1s, SimLabs is telling you that specific lineup in that configuration has a decent ROI. So, like the whole point, Dean, that I make with your 1-1-1-1-1 stuff is that there are lineups that look like that are profitable. It's very hard to figure out which one of them are profitable, and that's what SimLabs kind of does for you.
More Red Bull. I feel like you're talking a lot and like it's hurting your throat. And if you're fine, no worries. Feel free to keep going. This is good stuff. The people appreciate it. By the way, we are running a contest where you can get yourself 1 week free of RotoGrinders Premium. You see it in the scroll there. How do you get access to the contest? Jump into the Discord channel, rotogrinders.com/Discord. You go into the live stream chat channel. It's $5. It's a standard, producer Devin set it up, $5 contest on DK. And if you win that contest, you get yourself a week free of RotoGrinders Premium. And as we kind of outlined earlier, it wouldn't just be for baseball. It would be for baseball. You would get, all the bells, all the whistles. You would get access to SimLabs. You would get access to Lineup HQ and, everything that comes with that as far as the projections and the umpire data and all that stuff. You would get Weather Edge, which we haven't even talked about just yet. Roth will talk about that, I'm sure. Weather Edge. Weather is one of the first things I look at. For today, nothing really is jumping off the page. Weather-wise, we're clean. As far as Ross report, last thing we saw was Baltimore is yellow officially. That is only on the FanDuel slate. Everything else is green or postponed. If you missed it, the Mets and Milwaukee not playing today, Atlanta and Philadelphia not playing today. But yeah, as of let's see, the report is they might light start in Baltimore. They might just play in the future, a few raindrops, but they are going to play regardless. Temp in the 50s, winds blowing in. It is good pitching weather in Baltimore. And again, that's just for the FanDuel slate. And also Corbin Burns, one of the best pitchers in the slate there for FanDuel, is throwing on the bump against an Angels team that is pretty horrendous, especially the absence of Shohei Ohtani. I see Will in chat is giving out some of his favorite plays. His K of the day is Jason Jesus Luzardo, more than 14 and a half pitching outs. Basically, he's got to go 5 innings. I like that number. I feel like he goes 5 against this Pittsburgh team. Opening day, so I keep pitch counts a little bit subdued. It's hard to project where people are going to land. The Marlins also a team that they've lost a number of guys, a number of arms already. Yuri Perez and Alcantara's out for the season, so maybe a little bit concerned, but 5 innings, that feels pretty doable. He's going to be super chalky on DK, where you get a meaningful discount, good ballpark, and a Pittsburgh lineup that is certainly worth picking on. Again, jump in that contest. Only 50 spots available, 50 spots. Didn't want to fully max it out, but yeah, jump in there, get yourself a week free of RG Premium. And Blender, we're going to give out a couple of weeks at some point throughout the show, so just going to be sprinkling them on through. I'm not saying I'm encouraging
to something nice about me that they'll get it.
Well, you know what? Let's do that, because this wasn't coerced, I don't think. But I see Mabs in chat. Mabs in chat says Blender is the perfect mix of insanity and analytics. And I think that sounds about right. That's pretty good.
Why do people think I'm nuts?
I mean, we've seen you on your private channel. So this is you like subdued. You have your moments, and I shouldn't in the best possible way, like in a Larry David way, like in an endearing way, of course. But let's hook up Mabs with a week free of RG Premium. Now, Mabs, if you don't mind, or if you're cool with just dropping your RG account, just your RG account into the YouTube account, producer Steve, producer Deb will take care of it. Well, they'll knock it out and get you free RG Premium. If you don't want to get it out there, this isn't like your social security number. We're not asking for your phone number or nothing like that. Not going to dox you. But yeah, feel free to drop it in there. We'll hook you up. And if you don't want to do that for whatever reason, just DM me on Twitter. You see my Twitter at DFS_Almanac. We'll hook you up, but might take a few seconds here. But yeah, we'll get Mabs. Is that not a compliment? Are you insulted that he called you?
I mean, hey, any press is good press, right? That's what they say. As they're talking about you, you're good. You're fine.
Yeah. Now people are just going to be, and Mabs is Mabs. There you go. We could have figured that out, I suppose. But yeah, producer Devin's going to hook you up. You'll get a week free of RG Premium. There's a small chance, by the way, just for Mabs, if you might have to log out and log back in if for it to kick in. But he'll
giving
take
him
care
more
of
work to do. So that's what we're doing. We're giving out work for people to do.
Well, I mean, I think Devin was happy to do it. He wants to hook people up, and it's
making people log out, making people log in. What do you want? What are we, your butler? Come on.
Well, you wouldn't take a free week of RG Premium. How long does it take to log out and log back in? What else are you doing, Blender? You have all the time in the world.
I gotta build line. I gotta watch the games very closely.
You're not watching a second of baseball today, which is so disappointing.
I'm not watching a second of baseball this season. What are you kidding
Oh
me?
my gosh. That's by the way, the MLB like innings package, whatever, is free like the first week or so if you don't subscribe or pay for such things. But if you have a sweat going on, do you turn the game on at least, or do you like watch the dots? Do you pull up like the Yahoo stat
I watch
tracker?
the dot. Yes, I'm a dot watcher. I put on my MLB app, and the sweetest words when your batter is up
in play runs
in MLB, in play runs. Play runs. That's me. That's
you know what's cooler? Just watching the ball actually go over the fence is pretty cool too. In play runs with the bases loaded, like a ground out, like a fielder's choice.
No, those are the fake in play runs. The in play runs where it could be a sac fly. It's a guy on third in play runs. It's like, that could be a sac fly, right? But when a guy's on first and it's in play runs, that's
then you're excited.
Probably a home run.
And it's like E7, like, oh no.
Right,
let's have that be our poll question today. How much of the games do you watch in general? Not necessarily opening day, but do you never watch the games? Always watch the games? Only when you have a sweat? Do you watch the dots? Maybe producer Steve can set up a poll question. I'm always curious where the people are at. Peter Porker is calling you the mad scientist of
NHL this year, Dean. I use our NHL projections. I don't watch. I don't know. I watched one period of hockey. I think the first week of NHL. I'm fine. I have to watch anything. It's a waste
you
of
need the
time.
glow puck? You can't follow the puck?
I'm watching movies. I'm watching the new season of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh,
What do I have to watch the game?
Yeah, but like there's plenty of time in the day. You can, I mean, Curb's only a half hour long, basically. Wrestling, you got a couple hours. You can fast forward. But I guess you got to watch it live for wrestling, right? Otherwise, the internet's going to spoil for you. All right. So have you figured out, by the way? Are you're still kind of debating what you're landing on perspective wise?
No, I'm
the
looking
Reds
at
are going to be popular.
The Dodgers, our Sims, Sim Labs. I mean, primarily due to price, the Dodgers, like in the 150 that I just ran, I'm getting 19% Cincinnati Reds, but only 5% Dodgers. And the teams that are coming up higher than the Dodgers are the Twins. And they have a decent total, 4.4 or something, right? The Nationals in the same game as Cincinnati. I think people will be on the Nationals also. The Astros.
People love a game stack. I know it's that's going to irk cheese, but it's a good ballpark environment too. And Frankie Montas, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like I'm giving a little bit of analysis too, Blender. Frankie Montas hasn't been good for a while. He hasn't been good for a while. He hasn't been healthy for a while. When he was best, when he was good, it was like 3 years ago when he was pitching in Oakland. Now he's not great of late and injured, and now he's in Cincinnati. So I'm not really sure what to expect. Now he's interesting for tournaments for those reasons, because maybe he could find what he once was. Or maybe he's just done and that's it and it's over. And that happens sometimes for pitchers. But and again, the whole game stack thing is an interesting how people frame that. And people just want to watch the one game and just want to watch a bunch of runs sometimes too. But yeah, I like both sides of that game. Of course, Cincinnati a little bit more popular. Josiah Gray is a live arm, but he gives up it's less homers than he used to. He used to give up like almost 2.5 per, or whatever it was, per 9, which is way too many. Last year he subdued him a little bit, but still way too many and too many fly balls. And probably a bad idea to give up a ton of fly balls in Cincinnati against this power hitting lineup here. And, it's not great weather for what it's worth as far as Weather Edge. I was checking that out. Weather Edge, it basically tells you this weather today. What was the weather like? How did games play out in the 100 previous games that had the exact same weather, very, very similar weather?
The exact same weather. Wow. That's very cool. Exact barometric pressure. I mean, that's
the dew point.
Are we living in a simulation for that to happen? How does that happen?
You got to take it up with Neo. I really can't elaborate. This is a Kevin Ross tool, so I can't speak to it beyond that. But in 30 previous games with similar weather, 56 degrees. Now there is 9-mile-per-hour wind, basically to dead center, but that's not a huge sample, right? Just 30 games. But we've seen a decrease in homers of 20%, a decrease in runs of just 1%. And so it's nothing crazy, but again, it's all relative, and it's cold most places. Wait to the summer when it's like 100 or so and popping in Atlanta, and you have team totals around 7 or so. We're not there just yet, but that's why I think Dave Potts, his hot take, one of his hot takes in the survey today, was that no team scores 10 runs, which I think it was no team scores 10 runs and no pitcher scores more than 20 fantasy points. It also speaks out like some of these pitchers are not fully stretched out. You're not going to see 110 pitches from basically anybody. I think Cole Reagan's probably the guy that's most likely to throw around 100 or so. He threw a ton his last time in spring training, a lot for spring training. But that's why I get excited. It's like, how many of these pitchers do I really want to attack? Not many. And how many ballparks are spectacular when you consider the environment? Not many. But like, I'm not going to not play, right? But yeah, I cut you off. You're in the middle of some sort of rant, Blender. But I did want to. You're talking about game stacks, just Washington in general, as an option, picking on Montas, and they're pretty cheap as well. You got a cheap Joey Gallo, who doesn't hit the ball often, but when he does, right, certainly it can go pretty far. But I love that game, but I think Sims are going to like that game.
Our Sims loves that game. Our Sims loves that game. I mean, some of the top lineups that obviously Cincinnati. I mean, our Sims, they're going to be chalky. Cincinnati's going to be the most owned team on the slate, but our Sims don't seem to mind it. And combining that with, I see a lot of 5-3 Cincinnati, Washington, 5-3 Cincinnati Twins, 5-3 Cincinnati. There's some Marlins in there. And I'm also looking at, it's notable that in our Sims, the Dodgers aren't coming up as highly. And by proxy, also Crochet Like in 150 lineups that I've run, I have 0 crochet, or someone says crotch rocket. It's crochet, like the knitting.
It is crochet. I actually checked the White Sox. I was checking the pronunciation before those because I wanted to be like Crockett. I was hoping that Dave Potts will make a Miami Vice reference, but maybe he still might. He still might. But it is crochet. But he's also a live arm. Like he's like legit. He's got a good arsenal, but it's not fully harnessed just yet. I don't think he's fully stretched out. It's the other thing, and he's coming back from Tommy John. I think he what is his pitch count expectation? Around 60 or so? I think he's got one of the lowest pitch count expectations. I'm pulling it up right now.
No, I mean, Cardi has him at 85.
Okay. I feel like that might be different than our projections. Or maybe our projections have changed.
Yeah,
if he throws 85 pitches, though, he's interesting.
Well, the thing is on the slate is like if you're not stacking the Dodgers, it's not like there's that much to pay for hitter wise.
Mm-hmm.
That's Astros. Why
Astros.
I guess so.
The Astros. That's my favorite, like kind of sort of off the board. Yankees had one of the worst, according to Fangraphs. Their bullpen's like 19th or so. Nasty Nestor Cortez. We don't really know like if he's going to bounce back. Like he was really bad last year, but I suspect he'll bounce back to some degree. It is the two best hitters for Houston are lefties, right? But historically, they hit lefties pretty well. You know, Jordan smashes lefties. Tucker hits them fine. Dusty Baker no longer there, so Tucker actually gets the hit like where he should be hitting. Shout out to Dusty. But like, yeah, Altuve, they're willing to go left on left. You know, Altuve, Alvarez, Tucker. Like, I know a lot of managers don't like to go LL like back to back, but I think the Astros are like the really, really interesting tournament pivot. You got the cheap catcher that's going to be pretty popular, I think. Yeah, Yainer Diaz batting in the 7-hole. McCormick's perfectly fine. I'm probably not going to play Abreu. Took him forever last year to his first homer. He's getting up there, and you know he's got to get like one of those like bases clearing doubles down the line. Now certainly he can hit a homer, and there you go. There's the mush for you. But they're not going to be terribly popular just because they are expensive, I think, and people don't like L on L, right? But Alvarez and Tucker hit lefties just fine. So that's my favorite pivot for tournaments, by the way. And I did want to give out another week of RG Premium because I like this comment in chat. And Blender, you can feel free to give one out too. Not too many, but feel free if you like it. And I don't know if you like comments in chat. Maybe you have a different barometer than I do. But B Shot in chat said, "I think crochet weaves a gem today." I like a good pun. I'm a sucker for a good pun. So
your standards are so low on cleverness.
Well, well, so you know, crochet is a thing. You know what crochet is, Blender? You're aware of
I'm aware of the reference. Yes.
I don't know if that's something you do at your own leisure while you're watching wrestling. I don't know, but I did. It made me smile.
You have to do the loop-de-loop. My grandmother actually taught me how to crochet when I was like 5 years old.
Did you? Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So
I mean, I didn't retain it or anything. I don't. It's not like I'm sitting here sewing and making little
my grandma taught me
puzzles, hand warmers or something or whatever. But I did. She did do crocheting and with the little loop thing, and then you go around, and then you do this and something. I mean, it was like 40 years ago, so I have no idea.
So we hooked up B Shot with a week free of RG Premium, and then B Shot takes a shot at me. I know he was being sarcastic and making a joke. I do not think I know more about baseball than Dusty Baker, but I do think it's kind of silly to bat Kyle Tucker fifth. I'm sorry. I think that was ridiculous. It happened for way, way too long. Go ahead and drop your RG account in the YouTube. If not, if you don't want to do that, DM it to me, and we'll hook you up.
We're getting cross stitching is better than crochet. It seems like we have a sewing crowd. We have.
There's a Venn diagram, baseball and sewing. It's not just two circles, apparently. Yeah. Chili says, "Can you please avoid the word popular?" Have I said popular a lot? Is that like today's word of the day? I don't intend.
What's wrong
to
with
do
popular? What's wrong with saying something's going to be popular?
I don't know. Am I saying that incorrect? Please elaborate, Chili. I don't know if I said that way too many times or not. But what synonym would you like me to use instead of popular? I'm happy to do that. Happy to make that work. But yeah, well, you're still figuring out your lineups on the fly. What do you say?
I still haven't even moved them in. See, look, I the same lineups that are there. I could look at the exposures. I just want to show off SimLabs. It's free today. It won't be free for long. You'll have to get a premium membership. Use it while it lasts. Come on. While supplies still last, right? We only have so many amounts of Stim Labs that we could give away. Obviously, that's not true.
I think it's unlimited.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm going to move. See, what I'm going to do here out of these 150 is that I can go through and like eliminate. I could pick out lineups that, you know, that I would want. Let's say I just want to have 5-man stacks, right? So I could go to like these and just like save all. Save all 20. I don't know if this works. Save 50 lineups. Is that gonna get me all of these or just I'm not sure. Right. We have to take, let's see, save 50. Okay. No, yeah, it does it. Okay. Awesome. It used to not work that well. So look, what I did is I clicked on the stack type 5-2. Then it showed me 23 lineups. And then I want to save all of those lineups to my save lineup section. Then I'm going to go to 5-3, do the same thing, right? How many lineups do I got here? Right. Well, that's in save. Let's go to current build. Click back over. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's do it. Come on. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Come on. Here? Is it, you know what it is? Probably too many people are using it right now. Is that what's going on?
We're giving it. That's why it's unlimited, right? That's what the problem is.
We got to get to invest in some more servers, I suppose. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
How many are you cranking out?
Okay, 150. So now I'm going to go to 5-3. Click on that. Right? Why is it only showing me 3 here? In the current.
Did you put another specific parameter on it?
Yeah, but I mean, in general, I'm just going to go and just take the stack types. Yeah, it's running a little slow. Okay, here we go. 5-2, 23, 5-1, 5-1, 14. Okay, save these. Now I'm up to 37. We got the 5-2s, 23s, 23 of those. Maybe a lot of the 5-2s are 5-3s. Yeah, so that's what's ending up happening. So I got 40 lineups out of there, and then let's go to some 4-3s. I don't mind. I'm just saying what I would do in general. So like save 50 of those. Now I can go to my save lineups, and I can go through and say which ones do I not want to keep, even though they're, you know, of that stack type or something. And I could sync these lineups to Lineup HQ. I'm just going through an example process. I'm not going to just, you know, I'm not choosing exactly what I'm playing right now. So I'm going to sync these lineups, these 53 lineups, sync lineups to Lineup HQ. It says lineup synced. So I can go to Lineup HQ, reload the page with Lineup HQ, go to the lineups page, and I should be able to see the 53 lineups that I've saved in there. In Lineup HQ. Here we go. And it says, gives you that message. 53 of 53 imported from SimLab successfully. Now, the thing is that in Lineup HQ, I have the bat projection selected. So now it's going to show me the ownership and everything with the bat projections, not the RG projections.
They're similar. They're going to be similar, obviously.
They're going to be similar,
not exactly
right.
the same.
Right. So I see all the lineups here. So I can do the same exact things I could do in Lineup HQ, stack summary, player exposures. Maybe I go down. I see, look at these fantasy points, and I go, maybe I don't want the lowest projected. You know, there's here 87. What's the lowest on them? 81. Right. If I sort the other way by fantasy points, maybe I don't play, you know, this Astros lineup with the Rays.
What is your cutoff? What's your cutoff where it's like this is just not projecting nearly enough for me? I mean, obviously it's baseball, and sometimes it's like a home run is worth 14 points, and that can make it up really, really quickly. Like, is there a certain number you have, or it depends upon the day?
It's more in relation to the other lineups. Is that if I believe, and using SimLabs, you should have more of this mindset that all 53 of these lineups are about as good as each other. So, like, if I let's say I was just playing 10 lineups, right? Just as an example, if I closed my eyes and just randomly picked 10, and you ran this slate out 1,000,000 times, I'd make the same amount of money no matter what 10 lineups I choose. Now, they all make it in different ways. different slate. I mean, if you're playing 10 red stacks and the Reds fail, you're losing all your money. If the Reds do great, all of your lineups get the first. So there's a difference in the variance of your portfolio, but in general, each individual lineup should be worth about the same. So if that's the case, like there's no discernible right way of cutting out which lineups. Just understand that from a projection standpoint, lineups that are lower projected tend to cash less, right? Because it's a mean projection.
Sure.
So given the choice, I'll reduce my variance and I'll say, okay, in the set of lineups, right, I got a bunch at 87, 87, 87, 86, 86, 86. I'm just going to cut out some of the lowest projected ones, right, first. So I may do this up to whatever point I want, maybe up to 85, whatever. Yeah, get rid of some. And then maybe I go through and go, do I really want to have, how much Will Benson do I really want? So basically,
he's
all
got
this
speed
all
and
I'm
power
doing right
he's
now
facing
is
Josiah Gray. He's going to be the first player you plug in your cash games today, basically. I just want to add a little color to that because I wrote him up like yesterday. We read a little bit early as far as the expert survey. I had him as my sneaky homer call. And I'm like, no, okay. I still like him to hit a home run, but he's in no way sneaky, so I had to change it. I'm like, he's no longer sneaky. He might be Spidey's first homer call for all we know. He's got speed. He's got power. He did steal like 6 bases in spring training, by the way. As a side note, I saw he was like plus 300, depending on where you're shopping for stealing a base. Josiah Gray gave up 21 stolen bases last season. The Cincinnati team, I believe, led the league in steals. I like betting the Reds for stealing bases today against Josiah Gray. All of them are not, I shouldn't say all of them. That was one of my favorite, Benson, but India in play, CES you can get like pretty high. De La Cruz I didn't like the number. Like he's most likely to do it, but just number wise, you got to pay too much juice for it. He's also buried in the 6 hole. He might only get 2 at bats versus Gray. Doesn't mean he's not going to steal versus the bullpen, but just wanted to throw it out there. Benson has been swapped out. He's no longer sneaky. He's going to be crazy popular. And I wanted to sort of like lead that to like every hitter is fadeable in tournaments. Everyone. It could be the best hitter in the world versus the worst pitcher in the best ballpark. And if they're going to be 40% owned, and I'm not saying Benson's going to be 40% owned in tournaments, he's going to be really popular in single entry stuff though, for sure. Is there a certain number you have, Blender, where you're like, I'm just not playing this hitter in single entry because he's going to be outrageously owned, and I'll just give me somebody else different because the variance is goofy? And
typically, I prefer not to do that as a one-off.
yeah,
right? I'm going to play them correlated. But like I do this, like, look, I got 40 lineups in here. I got rid of a bunch. Let's say I'm using the example that I'm trying to pick out 10 lineups to play in large. I set it up for large field. So remember, the mindset should be when you use SimLabs that it's not giving you bad lineups. Okay? So if you randomly selected 10, it's just as good as picking. If you wanted to pick out lineups and it's like, I can't play anyone that has a last name that starts with M. That's as much of a valid way to eliminate lineups as if you did it randomly. So like there's no right answer. To me, it's more about how much variance do you want to have in your portfolio? So like I could select 10 red stacks right now, but my variance of my portfolio is going to be way high because it's all based on if the Reds do well. So maybe I decide that I want to have a Marlins lineup. And I see that I only have 1 out of this 40. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep the Marlins lineup. Right? So now all I'm doing is picking through based on how much variance do I want in my portfolio? How much diversity? So maybe I look at this Detroit lineup and go, well, I got Detroit and I got the Dodgers here, right? I got I want to at least have a Dodgers lineup because the Dodgers could always explode. But maybe I look at this and I go, would I rather have a Dodgers lineup that has Reds in it, which will be much and 2 less popular pitchers? Or would I rather have Skubal and leverage against the Reds with Gray here, and then have look at this lineup against Lazard. Like this is a very heavily leveraged lineup.
Yeah,
with the Dodgers. So maybe
if you're going to play 5 Dodgers, the other 3 guys have to be pretty goofy, like 3 Pirates. you're
Right.
suggesting. Yeah, you got
So
to
I'm going
balance
to play
it out.
this. I'm going to say I'm going to take this one lineup because I could choose if I don't care about the variance to say I'm just going to X out the Dodgers, and if they beat me, they beat me. But I'm going to be like in my 10 lineups, maybe I want to have one. So I get rid of this one. I save this one. So this is what I will do. I'll go through and go, do I want to play a 3-man Dodgers with some Detroit today? How many of the Washington, Houston? Because I'm going to get a lot of the other ones in here. So I'm going to get rid of this. Maybe I don't play San Francisco. Maybe I play one Yankees lineup against Houston, right? And I see here that, I could play with the Marlins, Scooble Cortez, with some Reds. I like this lineup. This is pretty good. With the Yankees aren't going to be that owned, so I could play them with 3 Reds, and that's fine with Scooble there also. So I select that. I'll get rid of the other one. So now I got 3 lineups saved. I look in here. I go, well, like who do I have in here? Do I want to okay, I got 2 Scooble lineups. So maybe, unless I want to have a ton of Scooble, maybe the next lineup that I select doesn't have Scooble in it. So maybe I go through here and I go, let's take a look at the you like Houston, right? Or Washington.
I like it for
right?
for large field stuff, or just maybe a couple. I don't want to say a one-off, but maybe a little mini stack for a single entry thing, because they're not going to be.
Here's a lineup. Here's a lineup that is Houston with a Will Benson one-off, and being the fact that all the lineups that I have remaining are about the same. Yeah. I'll be like, well, I don't want to play the chalkiest one-off, so okay, get rid of that lineup. Do I want to play Reds one-offs in lineups like this? Probably not. I probably want to play Reds more in a correlated way. So I'm going to get rid of these lineups that have these one-off Reds in it, right? At least these are 3. So here's a 5-3 lineup with Lopez and Webb, right? So this looks pretty good as a Houston lineup. So I'm going to save that one. I'm like, here's Soto, Gordon, Biggio, Glasnow, Berrios. I mean, this is fine. I mean, this is Cabrera, Kiner Falefa. Okay, so I got 4 lineups in here. So I will continue to do this. I'll look and go, I'm only playing 10 lineups. Do I even want to have a Royals stack in here? It's not that I don't like the Royals or anything. You can play this lineup, but the more lineups, if I play a KC lineup, that's one less Cincinnati lineup. That's one less Minnesota lineup. That's one less Washington lineup. And ultimately, I got 31 lineups remaining. I have to get this down to 10. And whatever way satisfies your diversity standards, if you want to have 100% Tariq Skubal today, God bless you. You can. But if you only want to have 50%, then you got to start selecting lineups that don't have Skubal in it. So maybe you don't play the Royals with Skubal in these lineups. Then once eventually I get down to 10, I upload. So this is what I will do after the show. Use SimLabs, generate 150, possibly even more, 300, 450, 600. And I will literally just go through just like this and kind of cut out the highest owned lineups, cut out the lowest projected lineups, and then basically select the 40 that I want to play out of the bunch, upload them up. And a lot of times that process does not take very long.
Dave Potts, cheese is good, coming in about 10 minutes or so, as well as TJ Zwarich, one of the greatest DFS players in all of Saskatchewan, Canada. Also, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth in about 10 minutes. I don't see anything weather-wise. Let's see if we've had a change when it comes to Baltimore. Again, that FanDuel slate starts at 3 o'clock, so about 45 minutes or so. Still currently yellow. Everything else is clean. Everything else is green. I'll go ahead and drop this in chat for the people as well. Skubal, currently the highest projected pitcher on the DK slate for us, 35%, 32% for Jesus Luzardo. Glasnow, strange situation. Game 3 for the Dodgers, his second start of the season. First one wasn't great. I think he threw 77 pitches. He's coming in at 27%. Darvish, 15%, which is kind of surprising to me. I don't think I'll have any Darvish. Montas, 14%. Barrios, 14%. Pablo Lopez, 14%. You were talking about Royals. I don't really want to pick on Pablo Lopez. He's freaking awesome. But I will just add, if you are going to play the Royals, they're not going to get owned in that ballpark, playing a little bit better than typically. If you look at the old Weather Edge, 34-game sample size, 13-mile-per-hour wind, basically to dead center, 65 degrees, and the dew point is 34 in 34 previous games. Again, I don't love that sample size. We've seen a spike in homers there in Kaufman at 33%. Any questions in chat, by all means, fire them off. And Again, Blender is not going to answer your this guy or that guy question. Dave Potts, TJ, they'll answer that question for you. They'll go around the horn. They'll give you your favorite, favorite catcher, favorite every single position, run it down for cash for tournaments. Travis saying Royce Lewis going yard today. I love Royce Lewis, man. If you just sort of extrapolate his numbers in like 162 game season, and that's not how things work. But he's got like MVP style numbers if that guy can stay healthy. You can kind of say the same thing about Buxton and both those guys, but also they're facing Cole Reagans. Cole Reagans, possibly the best pitcher in baseball the second half of last season. He was insane. He was so good. So I'm more on the Reagan side today. I like Lewis. I like Buxton. Interesting, they have a punt catcher in the 2-hole there. Ryan Jeffers batting second today for Minnesota. By the way, San Francisco and their pinch hit stuff, this is kind of things we can kind of get into as the season progresses. I'm curious to see how that plays out. They changed their manager. I'm not sure if that was like a team philosophy, but San Fran very similar to like Tampa, where they're very, very platoon oriented, and they're just a frustrating team to stack in general because if your lefty if you have a Lamont Wade, if Lamont Wade's the plate today with the bases loaded and Darvish gets the hook and they're bringing in a lefty, there's a really good chance, at least historically, that he's coming out. So I'm always like conscious of like bullpens and things like that. I did look and see the Nationals only have one lefty in their bullpen. Benson was a guy who would platoon sometimes last year, but only one lefty in that Washington bullpen, and also in Cincinnati, without 3 of their players expected coming in the season. Friedel, Marte, and there's somebody else who's hurt, McLean. So like the big conundrum coming into the year, Blender, for Cincinnati was like they have too many hitters. They have too many good hitters. Why did they sign Candelario? They're stacked, and now they have 3 injuries, 2 injuries and a suspension, and all of a sudden, things just kind of worked out that way. About 5 minutes or so until crunch time comes in. By the way, this tournament is not yet full. You can get yourself a week free of RG Premium. Just jump over to the Discord channel, rotorunners.com/Discord. Live stream chat channel. It is posted by RG Producer. Jump in there, finish first. It's a standard Final Hour contest on DK. And if you haven't finished first, you get yourself a week free of RG Premium. We want to fill that bad boy up and give out the premium to the people. Blender, have you decided, or are you still kind of figuring out, like, are you taking a stand as far as, I know, like, now you're looking at what's been spit out. Are you pro Dodgers today? You're going to have different iterations?
I'm going to be low on the Dodgers. That's what it seems. That's what it seems like today. As one-offs, I think I could have some Dodgers. I think if we take a look here, I mean, like I said, I'm so simulated oriented, like it's not.
Yeah.
But if I take a look here, I think I'm much more likely to have like Will Smith or because at catch, like at the scarcer positions, I think I'm much more likely to have a Dodger as a one-off, even if it's a power position like Muncy or Freeman, like at a first to third base. But I'm probably going to be under on like Ohtani or Betts and those types of guys. But like I said, I don't mind at the scarcer positions. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what we're looking at. I do have a Spidey bomb.
Is it the top projected guy in the bat? Is that what? Is it the guy that's projected?
No. This is a real one.
Okay.
I have a home run prop that I do actually have.
Okay.
It may sound odd, but I mean I'm using the bat projection. So, I got Wilson Contreras against Glasnow plus 600 home run prop.
Okay.
I also have a Betts home run prop, but the price is you can't get it at the price that I got it. So
it's already
I don't want to
stale.
call that a venom bomb. It's the Mookie Betts home run prop isn't worth it currently. So I would not necessarily bet on that. But
I want the chat to tell us who's going to homer. I know we have Spidey coming in soon with TJ. Spidey bombs are going to be a thing, but let's see if the chat can give us their favorite homers. You mentioned the Yankees, and like there's a lot of power in that lineup. Obviously, Rizzo healthier this year. He was dealing with the concussion syndromes last year. Stanton, he's not a shell of what he once was, but there's still some power in that bat. But I just don't like the pick on Framber Valdez, and that bullpen is spectacular. One of the best bullpens in all of baseball expectations. And Valdez is just an extreme ground ball guy. Doesn't give up home runs. He's just got to get BABIP to death mostly. Doesn't mean he can't give up a homer. It's just I just don't like the Yankees today. And again, in a simulation of one, of course, they can get to him. But last season, 0.86 homers per 9. If you pull up the fly ball rate, like 25% fly ball rate or so. Again, you can play whoever you want, as Blender is going to tell you. Alex says Chas McCormick. I like that call. I like the Chas call. Part of my Houston stack. D-Bulls fan, Jose Siri bomb. Yeah, for sure. Oh, no, the Siri's going to start talking to me, isn't it? Several people are shouting out McCormick. I was going to ask you if you care about such things like, and I know the answer is, and no matter what I'm going to say, the answer is probably no.
Might as well say the answer is no.
Do you care about umpire data? Like, you don't care about umpire data, right?
It's already
all
in the projections. In the projections
Yeah.
already. What do I care?
Yeah, but the people care. There are some extreme hitters, umpires. There's 2 to be precise. One for the Nestor Cortez and Framber Valdez, that Houston Yankee game, and the other one is for Barrios and Eflin, a game that's going to be kind of sort of somewhat ignored. I like the Torkelson call there from Hoosier Saying Banners. That's a pretty good call. You know what? Let's give out another. Hoosier Saying Banners is always asking for like random projections on the shows a lot. It's like, guess does not have premium, which is fine. But let's hook up Hoosier Saying Banners with a week free of RG Premium. Not to say I don't want to answer your questions going forward, but you can see what it's like, and maybe you can it's pretty nice. It's pretty sweet. It's pretty convenient to have the RG projections. If we can get producer Steve or producer Devin to hook them up with some projections, Hoosier Saying Banners, a week free of RG Premium, giving out several so far. So TJ's already got 2 Spidey bombs to the people. He's not released them, right? He's going to be coming in.
Truthfully, Dean, I don't even think it's that good of a day for Spidey bombs. I think the home run projections today, the offense is, I
great pitchers and bad pitching,
and I see so much more offense. And even the Dodgers, they have the better projections, but it doesn't scream like someone's gonna I'm with Cheese. I think it's much more likely that no team really goes off to the point where it's like you got to have them. Maybe some teams score 7, 8 runs, but I'm not even sure if that's done through home runs. If I had a hot take, it's quite possible that no team has more than 2 home runs. No team has more than 2 home runs.
That's probably like Alex is saying. Like we're talking, it's opening day, and every team has their aces out there. Now, not all aces are created equal, crochet, but and it's March. It's cold, so and weather matters, and the ball's not going to be jumping today. There's no cores on the slate.
That's what they call this part of the season, March sadness.
Kevin Roth jumping in. Oh, a little cameo appearance, just a tease, I guess.
You
know what? Blender, crunch time is here, so let's play ball!
So good. Yes.
Mr. Steve fed me that line, so I figure I'd pop commit to it and summon the catcher for the Sandlots. Roth, what's up? Happy opening day. Happy opening day to TJ. Happy opening day to Dave Potts. It's not officially baseball season until we get Ross weather report and we get Dave Potts musings, and I was happy to read them both. Welcome to opening day, boys.
Thank you. That was an excellent intro, I must say. The let's play ball, that's 10 out of 10. Your best work yet.
All right. Well, we're still working on it. We're still figuring it out. But do we have anything for the people that's worth talking about as far as Baltimore? That game starts in a half hour. The DK slate, Roth, I don't know if you know, the DK slate's not including that game. That's the only game that really matters as far as weather, at least precipitation. And we're probably stretching it there, right? Baltimore, not a lot going on.
It's fine.
Okay. Fair enough. Dave, welcome back. It's been too long.
You know what's remarkable, Dean and everyone? I've been sitting here for 6 months in the quiet. About 2 minutes ago, leaf blower guy came right outside my window. Like, what in the world? You're going to come literally anytime in the last 6 months. Like, it just started. I think I'm fine. Everything's great. Happy baseball.
Blender, do you want to give the people a hot take before he steps? I would ask for a homer call or anything else.
I said Wilson Contreras plus 600. I think that's enough of a hot take.
That's just based upon math. That's not based upon you having any sort of inclination. You don't have
what does it matter? Who cares? Who cares if it's a better than 6-1 chance of hitting? What the hell do I care?
Blender, never change. Let's step aside and get out of here. Let's make way. People want to hear what Dave Potts has to say. They want to hear what Roth has to say. And right on cue, TJ's coming in with the the Spidey Bombs. I believe the mask will be on if we have enough likes. I think we do. I think there are 2 Spidey Bombs. Oh, this is a new one. What is this, TJ? This is a new and improved. He really broke the budget this year. Let's step aside and get out of here, and then let the shenanigans ensue. Myself and Blender, we appreciate you watching the first portion. Now, it is crunch time with Dave Ponce. Cheese is good. You got Kevin Roth, and you got TJ and Spidey. Roth, take it away.
Thank you. What's up, everybody? Hey, I do want to note, I think my mic maybe kind of sucks. Cheese, is that accurate?
I mean, I hear you, but I don't know.
I hear your leaf blowers.
I know I'm muting until this guy like how many leaves are right outside my window? I'll mute for another second.
Hey, welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is crunch time. You will notice it's in the middle of the day, and we're not talking about hoops here. The seasons, they are a-changing, and we're talking some baseball. We got 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz to do it. I'm going to buy Cheese a little more time and introduce our guy, TJ. First off, new dad, TJ Dwarch in the house. What's up, man?
Doing well. Very happy to have baseball season beginning. Baby's still doing well, and I actually got a great sleep last night. So life is good. Excited to see Cheese again. Feels wonderful to see his face, because that to me is when baseball season really begins, and feel like we got some good tournament takes today. We got enough likes for 2 Spidey Bombs already, so I'll drop them right off the bat. We're only 20 likes away from Spidey Bomb number 3 already, so very exciting stuff. Let's we can get it started already. Let's see, do we still got that there? Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
the Spidey Bomb graphic is ready to go. The first one, I got Jorge Soler, one of the last games of the afternoon slate. You can get him for plus 450 on PointsBet, about plus 400 everywhere else. That's Spidey Bomb number 1, and then number 2 today is Jazz Chisholm going up against a Mitch Keller, who Stevie has noted his velocity was way down in spring training. You can get him for plus 525, and I believe Bet Rivers, and plus 500 on DraftKings. So 2 Spidey Bombs right off the bat, and we're already close to enough likes for our third.
That is a good start to the baseball season. We got the Spidey plushie there representing.
Big old Spidey Bomb. Right there.
Big old bomb. Cheese, it is always good to see you when you come out of hibernation for us, because you disappeared for 6 months. No one sees you. No one hears from you. You just go away. And then it's glorious. You're back with us, man. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm gone. And then all of a sudden it's just way too much of me. And then be like, boy, I wish that guy would go away again.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great to be back. It's a pleasure to see you guys. TJ, congrats.
Thank you. Feels good.
Yeah. How did the sleep go last night, bud?
Surprisingly good. So like my mother-in-law is staying with us right now as well, and so she's been a great help. But I prepped some bottles beforehand in case my wife needed them, and then she didn't wake me up for the feeding. And so I actually slept from 11 p.m. until 10 a.m. this morning. And it was amazing, because I only slept like 2 hours a night the previous 2.
Yeah.
And then she didn't sleep quite that much, but she still got a good amount of sleep there too. So it was a good first night.
Okay. Glad to hear it. Again, congratulations to you. Cheese, we got to kind of dive into this content here. We've got a split slate. We've got that going on. New sport, which means anytime I see the C for catcher, I'm probably going to say center, because I'm still in the basketball.
I mean, they're relatively if you draw a line down the field, they're kind of in the center. They're not in the middle, but they're in the center.
You just know if I say center, yeah, you know what I mean. There's, we got to kind of feel it out as we go through this, Cheese. And I don't even remember the process, to be honest with you, but I think we start talking about some pitchers.
That sounds right. Yeah. I guess we'll start by saying, so this Baltimore game is just going to play. So we just play.
Yeah. We should start with weather. The Baltimore game is going to play. The interesting thing would be probably the Philly game would have played as well. They postponed it early, but the Baltimore game is going to play. I don't think they're even going to need a late start. It's just going to play. It's kind of chilly, low 50s. Winds are blowing in from leftish, around 10 miles per hour. It's better for pitching than hitting, but it's also not the worst hitting weather I've ever seen. Just keep that in mind. Little bump down to bats there, but yes, the game will play.
Okay. So like one of my main thoughts on this slate on the FanDuel side. We're only one game different now. It's just this Baltimore game. For whatever reason, I think it's because it's early and because there was maybe some weather. It seems like I consider there to be 5 aces. You could make that number 8 or 10 if you wanted, but among them, I think Corbin Burns is kind of the lowest owned, which, I mean, I wouldn't argue if you put him last of who I call the 5 aces, but you could put him first, and I wouldn't argue either. So to me, I think you want to kind of go out of your way to play some Burns. Like if you've made a bunch of lineups and you have like kind of matching the field on like Glass Now and Skubal is kind of your chalk, like just swap a few of them to Burns if you have the $100 or $200. Like they're all very similar pitchers. My feeling on everything, pitching, hitting, everything, as we'll talk about, is just spread out all over the place today. It's the first start of the year. We have no idea. Like I said this twice in the musings, and I'll say it at least once here. Like we will never know less than we know right now about this season. Like we can guesstimate at things, but we don't know who's going to start out hot or cold or have a really short leash or a strangely long leash. Like just spread around. Like I'm playing the ownership game way more than any other point in the season. So just seeing that, I think Burns is going to be considerably lower owned than Glass Now, Luzardo, and Skubal. Sure, even if you think he's 4th out of that group, I would bump him up.
And you did bring up a good point about the leash on some of these pitchers, right? Early on in the season, especially first start, that can be tough to gauge and guesstimate. Are there guys that you feel better about? And I see, we've got pitch projections in there loaded up in Lineup HQ.
Essentially, no. Like, I really expect pretty much everyone to be in that 85 to 90 range. Like maybe somebody hits 95 and somebody gets cut off at 80, but essentially no one's going there midseason 100 plus. And among the aces, if everyone pitches well, no one's getting cut off at 60 either. So essentially, I'm not even thinking about it. Like,
okay, that's good.
No one's going to hit their midseason ceiling, but I don't see anyone out of the top 10 pitchers that is more to worry about than the other ones. I think they all should get 5 or 6 innings, 85, 90 pitches.
Okay, great. Well, let's dive into it. Your favorite pitchers on the slate. Then we'll get TJ's thoughts on that. Then we'll talk stacks, and then we'll go around the horn position by position, all of that in the next 30 minutes or so. So because we're just one game different on the sites, I'm going to just kind of go combine both sites and just point out where they're different. I mentioned with Burns, like I have 5 aces, which would then be 4 on DraftKings. The other 4 guys that I have up there are Glass Now, Skubal, Luzardo, and Pablo Lopez. I have no issue if you wanted to put like Logan Webb or Framber Valdez in that group. Cole Reagans is the next for me. So Glass Now, Skubal, Luzardo, Lopez, Burns on FanDuel, and then Cole Reagans is next for me. On FanDuel, like Luzardo is like $1,000 cheaper than those other guys, which is relevant. But essentially, those top 3, Glass Now, Luzardo, Skubal, I agree with ownership projections that like that's your chalk. The 3 of them combined should probably be over half the lineups, and they're just like I like Burns and Lopez as much, so I'm trying to be a little more on Burns and Lopez than those 3. But vast majority of FanDuel are just those 5 pitchers for me. If you need to go cheap, so Cole Reagans and Zach Eflin, they're 85 and 8,800, saves you a little bit. Framber Valdez at 9, those guys are all fine. But really, we're talking about Frankie Montas at 7,500. You could play this Garrett Crochet character who's 5,500, but that's more salary than you need. So I have 0 on FanDuel. You can barely even spend the salary if you have it. But I do have some Montas. And then on the DraftKings side, I think the chalk is even more prevalent, especially on Luzardo, because he has like the huge price discount. But basically Glass Now, Skubal, Luzardo are all going to be probably 30% plus owned. And even though we don't have Corbin Burns, I think Pablo Lopez moves up my ranks just because of he'll be not forgotten, but overlooked compared to those guys. Cole Reagans as well. So that they're kind of the next 2 on my list. Okay. And would you say that for most of your DK builds, you're doing kind of two of the higher end pitchers, two of the
So there are a lot of lineups that need a cheaper pitcher, like especially Dodger stacks. Frankie Montas is who I have mostly. I have one or two Garrett Crochet on DraftKings, but I have much more of the bats against him. So generally, if I need a cheap pitcher, I'm going to Montas. I also do have some Zach Eflin because he's at 7,300. So like I have some lineups where I paired Luzardo with Eflin to be able to get some better bats. But yes, for the most part, two of Glasnow, Skubal, Luzardo, and Lopez for me.
Gotcha. Okay, excellent. Let's kick it to TJ here. I want your pitcher thoughts. Though I saw with my own eyes, you're doing a little pimping the lower owned guys. I feel like you're getting a bit contrarian there, a pitcher.
Yeah, so I agree with basically everything she said, except there's one guy in particular that I absolutely love for tournaments. And so on FanDuel, it's basically the same thing. You got your 5 aces. All of them are great. I would want to play the ownership game with them the most, and so get underweight on Skubal and Glasnow, get overweight on Burns and Luzardo over there. But Cole Ragans is my favorite pitcher on the slate for large field tournaments. In my single entry stuff, my bats are somewhat chalky today, but I'm playing Ragans in it to get different. And he's just shown absolutely massive strikeout stuff in the past. I think people might have a little bit of a sticker shock because we're used to playing him cheaper. Minnesota's got some power, but they also strike out. It's the worst weather spot on the slate, according to Weather Edge, but that doesn't affect strikeouts. Maybe he gives up a bomb or two, but he can still get a ton of strikeouts. And while spring training stuff, we don't really care about it, it's worth noting that he was getting mid-90s pitches in spring training. And so that's somewhat interesting that he could be a guy that gets pushed a little bit. And I just absolutely love his ceiling today for how low owned he is. So all the same 5 aces that she said. It's Burns, Skubal, Glasnow, Luzardo, and Lopez. I'm getting to a bit more Crochet on both sites. On FanDuel, it is just fun if I need to, I can find some ways to spend some salary. Might look a little wonky, but I'll get it done just because it's fun. It's opening day, and I want to play the $5,500 pitcher. And so I'll load up with some Dodgers on him, but mainly it's Ragans is the guy I'm super excited about. And then in tournaments on DraftKings, same guys that I mentioned, not any different, but I'm also getting just a little bit of Frankie Montas and Jose Berrios in tournaments too. I'm getting to a bit of.
Okay, very nice. If you can't read, well, you probably can, but I'm going to read it for you. You got to jump in the Discord and enter our MLB contest. You can win a free week of premium, and then I think we just put the link in the YouTube chat as well. So make sure you are jumping in on that. Of course, we want to talk about some of our stacks as well, but I should add, we've been doing a lot of awesome stuff with SimLabs. It's our new DFS lineup generating tool from RotoGrinders Fantasy Labs. It's now available for MLB, and it's in beta. And we saw this with football. It was in beta for like a week, and then it went behind the paywall. And we saw it in basketball. It was in beta for like 3 or 4 days. Then it went behind the paywall. Well, baseball is in beta right now. So make sure you're checking it out for the next few days, because I do not imagine it is going to last in beta much longer. Just a really cool tool in your arsenal. It's one of the coolest things that we built in a long time here in RotoGrinders. So make sure you're checking that out. Let's talk stacks, I suppose. If what I heard is right from kind of Dean and Blender, maybe there's not a stack that we're really expecting to kind of go off here. But TJ, as you look and you're building and trying to win in tournaments, what teams are chalky and what teams are you targeting?
So Cincinnati is going to be kind of chalky today, but I do really like them in tournaments still. I think there's some different ways you can get going with their bats. Houston and the Dodgers are the 2 teams that I'm trying to spend up for the most today. They're both in very interesting spots. Cortez could be great. He could be not so much. But I do still like Houston. They're a very patient offense. They're one of the best offenses in baseball. And then where I'm looking to get a little bit different is San Fran. The Giants today are a team I like quite a bit in tournaments. They're not getting much ownership, but I do like pretty much their entire lineup. And then I'm playing 20 lineups, and after those 4 teams, it's basically just like one stack of each of these teams. Those are the 4 teams I have more than one stack of, but I'm spreading out after that since I have a pretty tight pitcher pool. Washington, Kansas City, Miami, Detroit, Minnesota, Toronto, and the White Sox.
Okay. Well, a little bit of piece of just about everything here. Cheese, as you're stacking things up, what are the top tier for you? Maybe what's a little more off the board that you like?
Yeah, so if there's kind of obvious chalk, it's the Dodgers on the high end and Cincinnati on the lower end. I think those two teams, outside of those two teams, I don't think I would consider anything else chalk. I mean, things will be more owned than other things, but if you're not playing Dodgers or Reds, I don't think you worry that much about hitting ownership for stacks. I have more Dodgers than Reds. Like if I'm going to play chalk, I'll just play the chalk that is also the best team, instead of the chalk that is that Josiah Gray reverts to 2 years ago Josiah Gray, which he very well might. But another thing I mentioned at least twice in the article and once in the survey and at least once here, I'm playing very literally every single team on this slate. It's opening day. We know nothing.
Yeah.
We will never know less than we know right now. Any of these pitchers could come out and just be off their game or just feel a little funky, like, we'll throw you out again in 5 days. Just go to the bullpen. So I have every single team. Yes, I have the White Sox and I have the Pirates and I have the Angels. Like we don't know anything. And there's not even that much gap between how much I'm playing the teams I like versus the ones I don't like. But the teams I have the most of are the Dodgers and the Tigers.
And do you still feel, I mean, usually it is advantageous to stack in baseball. It's generally like the strategy. But you did mention we don't really think that there's a team that maybe goes off. Do you have lineups that are just kind of scattershot, or are you kind of stacking everywhere still?
Yeah, I only have a couple lineups that are not full stacks. The problem is, I don't think any stack's likely to score the 15 runs with 5 homers.
Mm-hmm.
I can't pick out homers either. Like
Yeah.
It would be almost impossible to just random scattershot a lineup and get 7 home runs out of it. So I think the value of a double and an RBI goes up today. So I'm still stacking.
Okay, great answer. Let's go around the horn here. We've got, I think, 19 minutes here until lock. We like to start with the catcher position. Cheese, what do you got for me?
Yep. And I'll just point out, like, because only one game starts, if we have more questions, like we're not actually in that much of a hurry. But we will try to get you done. So catcher, essentially, to me, is you pay it for Will Smith, obviously, or you go cheap with Yainer Diaz or Ryan Jeffers, maybe Keibert Ruiz, or you play a guy in your stack, and that's really it.
Okay. TJ, anything different at catcher?
Yeah, one thing I will say quick is we have reached enough likes for our third Spidey Bomb. So if we get 50 more, we got over 400 watching on YouTube, over 900 watching total across the sites. Smash that like button. If we get over 200 likes, we got Spidey Bomb number 4. But number 3 is Jake Fraley. He's up over plus 500 about anywhere you can get him. He's on the top stack of the board today. Might go a little overlooked, batting 5th. Well, I mean, it's betting. That doesn't make sense. I'm still getting back into the baseball swing of things, but yeah, we got Jake Fraley plus 500 as Spidey Bomb number 3.
And Mike,
I'm excited, TJ. Two of the 3 Spidey Bombs were my tags for the day, and I only tagged like 4 guys. So we are in lockstep on this stuff.
Oh, day 1, and we're already on it. I love that. Okay, TJ, what are your thoughts here at catcher? Any other names that you want to add in that Cheese mentioned or did not?
Will Smith up top, Yainer Diaz getting down cheap, but for the most part for me, it's just whoever is in my stack today. So I don't think you have to play any catcher on FanDuel not named Will Smith. I do think Will Smith is a great way to maybe get a little different in your Dodger stacks on FanDuel. But other than that, you can basically just avoid the catcher position there. But on DraftKings, Diaz and Smith are my 2 highest owned guys. I'm getting to some Ryan Jeffers as a one-off, even though I am getting to a lot of Regans today too. And then just mostly guys in my stack. So Stevenson, Fortes, Ruiz, a little bit of Perez, Patrick Bailey. That's about it. Jake Rogers.
Excellent. All right. How about first base, TJ?
First base is where things start getting a little bit more exciting. You got the heavy hitters like Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman. If you're going on FanDuel specifically, I do really like Ryan Mountcastle as a tournament play. I do like Jose Abreu, even though he started the year so terrible last year. This is still a good spot against the lefty for him. Vlad Guerrero, Spencer Torkelson, but my main priorities are going to be Gallo, Ohtani, and then the Reds. So Candelario and Encarnacion.
Okay. Cheese, any other names?
Yeah, I just want to point out with the Reds have 3 players you can play at first base. So it'd be very disappointing if balls get past the first baseman today. But I do like all 3 of them. I'm playing Candelario at third. More often, you play either one of Candelario or Encarnacion Strand at third. Torkelson's my favorite play at the position. I mean, certainly Ohtani and Freeman, but salary-wise, Torkelson's my favorite play. Some other kind of random mid-tierish guys I have would be Josh Bell and Joey Meneses. Lamont Wade on DraftKings for a punt. That's about that.
Okay. How about second base, Cheese?
This is the dead spot today, unless you have Mookie Betts money. And if you do have Mookie Betts money, you should play Mookie Betts with the Mookie Betts money. That's why they call it Mookie Betts money.
Yeah.
It would be silly to call it that and not use it on that.
It would.
My other favorite play at the position is Brandon Lau. And those are actually the only 2 guys that I actually like. It's a little more like catcher for me today. It's basically play those 2 guys or play the guy in the stack. I truly don't care for any of these other baseball players.
So I'm seeing Jonathan India here. I believe this is on FanDuel. He's 2.8. He's got a couple little tags on him. Is that just a stack play, or is that like a punt play?
I consider him to be bad chalk. Not that I don't like him as a play. Like Jonathan India should not be chalk, just in general as a general life philosophy. But yeah, he is a good play for the salary. We're not concerned at all about ownership. Leading off for the Reds for a good salary makes him a decent play.
Gotcha. TJ.
That's what I was just about to say. He's not chalk because he's Jonathan India. He's chalk because he's on arguably the best stack, leading off and cheap.
Yeah. All right, TJ, other thoughts at second?
I am getting to quite a bit of India and Mookie Betts as much as I can. To get different in tournaments, I like Jose Altuve, Andy Ibanez as a nice cheap guy I'm getting to quite a bit of, and then Brandon Lau, as she's mentioned. But my favorite tournament play on the slate, and somebody I am getting to a lot of, either in mini stacks with the Dodgers or in full stacks of the Dodgers, it's Gavin Lux. I have 35% of him right now, and he is my highest owned second baseman.
Interesting. Okay, how about third base, TJ?
So let me pause and say, for some reason I had him written down under shortstop. Gavin Lux is also my after Brandon Lau. He's actually my highest owned second baseman. I missed that because I haven't listed at shortstop, but yes, TJ and I are on the same page. This has to be good.
That makes me feel so wonderful. And so that makes me feel a lot better about my plays.
Yeah. Did you feel a little weird when you're like, oh man, he didn't mention my highest owned guy? What have I done?
I mean, because for baseball, that never worries me too much because, like, as long as I'm the tournament guy for baseball, you can kind of say whatever, and it's like, well, it's tournaments. They're low owned. It works.
Yeah.
And so I never get too worried, but it definitely makes me feel better when Cheese is on the same page. It's like I'll feel good about my plays, but then I'll feel great afterwards if I get the stamp of approval. Third base is same too, because there's some first base, third base eligibility swaps here on DraftKings. Candelario and Encarnacion are also my highest owned third baseman today. It's a little bit different on FanDuel though. Candelario is only third baseman eligible, so I love him there. But you can also get Elly De La Cruz here at the third base position, only $3,400. Much more reasonable salary on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. I like Andy Ibanez quite a bit as well. But if you can get up to him, if you're not using your money, your Mookie Betts money on Mookie Betts, and you're spreading it out elsewhere, or maybe you're playing Garrett Crochet, so you have a whole lot of Mookie Betts money, then Max Muncy at 3,600 on FanDuel is a great play. He's my third highest owned guy on DraftKings. And then I am getting to some Matt Chapman as well, because I do like a giant stack.
Okay, very good. Cheese, your thoughts at third?
Yeah, on the FanDuel side, I like Candelario the best at 2,900. Certainly play Muncy if you can afford Muncy. I like Jake Berger as the other guy who's very fairly priced on both sites. Otherwise, I feel the same as TJ.
How about shortstop?
So I think let's pause for a second and talk about Ellie De La Cruz.
Please.
Just today and for the season in general, like I think he lost a little ownership getting pushed down to 6th in the lineup. He would have been like super duper mega chalk on FanDuel. I still think he's pretty chalky on FanDuel. He's expensive enough on DraftKings that I don't think like everybody's playing Ellie De La Cruz. I don't know what to do with this guy. Like he could hit 3 home runs and steal 7 bases today. I think more likely he goes 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts. Like I have very little Ellie De La Cruz, but I fully understand the upside. I think,
wasn't he kind of killing the ball in spring training, or was that earlier in it?
I would not know about that because of how much I don't care.
Okay.
I mean, really, like, what are we talking about? The guy strikes out all the time, and he hits ground balls. He also is super duper fast and hits the ball extremely hard.
Yeah.
So, yes, like all year is going to be. He's going to go 0 for 5 and 0 for 5 and 0 for 5. And the next day, he's going to steal 7 bases and hit a couple homers.
And be all over SportsCenter. And
exactly.
Inflate his ownership for the next 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. But so I'll say I much prefer CJ Abrams in that game.
He's going to be the ultimate player this year of like, if he's chalky, don't play him. If he's not, he's a good play.
Yeah. He's like the Robbie Ray of hitters. Yeah. So I much prefer CJ Abrams in that game. I think CJ Abrams is a better actual real world baseball player. Mm-hmm. He's not going to hit 3 home runs probably, but he can still 7 bases too. He's a little cheaper. I think he's a little better. I prefer him. As much as I like Pablo Lopez, like Bobby Witt is one of the just random great players that nobody's going to play because he's expensive against a good pitcher. There's a bunch of those in the outfield too. Gavin Lux on DraftKings I've got him. Jeremy Pena is that same salary. 3,400 on DraftKings is pretty useful. That's really kind of it. I mean, I have other guys sprinkled in and certainly in stacks, but that's really who I'm looking at.
Okay. TJ, your thoughts at short?
Sorry, I'm giving NBA comps of Ellie De La Cruz.
I like the Jordan Poole. The Jordan Poole one really fits, I think.
Like for current DFS, he's a much better prospect than Jordan Poole and Cam Thomas, but the type of guy that can get you 0 or can get you 60 kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I was about to say small forward. Shortstop position, Gavin Lux is my highest owned guy here, but I do love CJ Abrams as well. Getting to some Jeremy Pena, even though he's in a poor batting spot, because I am trying to stack up Houston quite a bit. Ellie De La Cruz, Carlos Correa, and then I do like Bo Bichette as a tournament option as well. I think he's going to be one of the best hitters in baseball this year, I believe. And so until he's fully priced that way on both sites, and if he's not picking up any ownership, I like it.
Okay. How about outfield?
Outfield position, Will Benson is my highest owned guy. He's kind of the chalk cheapie du jour. He's batting 3rd. He's in a great spot. He's going to be highly owned, so you absolutely can fade him if you want, but he's kind of like the top point per dollar option if you want to go that route. Mookie Betts, Ohtani, and Spidey Bomb, Jake Fraley are my next 3 highest owned guys. And then I'm, of course, getting to my other Spidey Bombs, Jazz Chisholm and Jorge Soler a lot as well. I'm getting to some Spencer Steer and Teoscar Hernandez because I do think they're going to be the lower owned guys in their stacks, either just a little too overpriced or the ones that look the least good in this spot. And so I'm trying to get to a lot of Steer and Hernandez, and then Joey Gallo and Jesse Winker for Washington are going to be 2 of my next higher owned guys. Winker is a very nice salary saver today, one of my favorites on the slate. And then some ways to get different in tournaments. I like Chas McCormick. I like Byron Buxton. Basically the entire set of San Francisco Giants. And then you can go to the Houston lefties as well. People aren't going to want to go there because it's lefty-lefty. It's early in the year. People are looking for the best possible spots. I love Alvarez and Tucker today. I bet on Alvarez to hit a home run too.
Very nice. Okay, Cheese, your thoughts in the outfield?
Yeah, let me start kind of where TJ ended with the sneakier elite players, just like the Bobby Witt at shortstop. Alvarez, Tucker, Aaron Judge, Soto, Buxton, great hitters against very good pitchers, but also half a game against a bullpen. Play these guys.
Trout on FanDuel too.
Yeah, sure they have a tougher matchup for their first 2, maybe 3 at bats, but they can hit anybody anytime for any reason with their Mookie Betts money.
Their Betts bucks, their Mookie money, or their Betts bucks.
Yep, there you go. It annoys me so much that Will Benson is hitting second, because he was my favorite player on the slate. He was one of the first guys I tagged on DraftKings, and he would have been like the leftover guy, not played even in red stacks. Now everybody's playing him, and he's not sneaky at all. I still like him because I think he's good. He has power and speed. He's kind of like Ellie De La Cruz, except he doesn't cost that much, and nobody strikes out as much as Ellie De La Cruz. Definitely Jazz Chisholm for sure. Jake Fraley on FanDuel at 2,600 is also very chalky, but I'm fine to play Fraley and Benson as long as the rest of your lineup is not like Scuball, Luzardo, and the Dodgers. I don't think you just have to go off the board everywhere. That's where I'm willing to eat a little chalk with those two guys. I like Lane Thomas a good bit. Mark Canha, Jesus Sanchez, James Outman, just kind of some random mid-tier to cheap guys. But the outfield is very loaded. And like I say, I have a little bit of everybody.
Okay. Guys, we have about 5 minutes here until lock. Don't forget, we've got that questions here. Get those likes up. Join the DK contest so you can win a free week of RG Premium. And if you've got some questions, get them in now. We are quickly approaching lock. And I don't see a whole lot of questions, but I do see a few in the RG Discord. This one from JT Money. Cheese, it is directed at you. He says, Cheese, if I wanted to do Strider and like a Dodgers mini stack, who would you be plugging in to make that work? Who's just too cheap for how good they are regardless of stacks?
Just to be clear, Strider is rained out. He's not pitching today. So
I was confused. I was like, how are we not talking about that?
Do not do that if you didn't mistype that. He is not pitching today. He's pitching tomorrow.
Well, that question was 2 minutes ago. So hopefully,
get him out now, because I think that game. I don't know if that game still locks, even though it's not playing. But do not play Strider.
Okay, that makes that easy. FanDuel single entry GPP. TJ, I'm coming to you for this one. You got me. He goes, Giannis or Zion? Just kidding. Do you have a feel it in your plums? This is fun. A feel it in your plums play of the day. Cheese. This has been around since basketball. It's just whoever you're feeling in your heart of heart, your cojones, your plums. Who do you feel it? Who do you feel in your plums today?
In my heart of hearts?
Yes.
Spencer Torkelson.
Torkelson. Okay. TJ, who's your feel it in your plums play of the day? It could be a pitcher or a hitter.
Cole Reagans.
Reagans. I like it. Last piece, Cheese, Jazz or Teoscar to finish up a Dodgers stack.
Yeah, love them both, but Teoscar if you're finishing a Dodgers stack. But those are two of my favorite outfielders.
Okay. TJ, the top pitcher for FanDuel Cash.
Top pitcher for FanDuel Cash.
Is there one that's like separate from that list of aces? Is there one that stands up alone?
I think it's Luzardo. Just because he's $1,000 cheaper than the other ones. But Scuball is fine. Glasnow is fine. I think it's Luzardo.
Okay. Jeffrey says, Cheese, is a Luzardo, Scuball, and Houston stack too chalky in single entry?
No, I don't think Houston is that chalky to worry about. I think that's okay.
Okay. I'm a little confused by this question from Peter here. He says, is Benson, Abrams, Fraley, and Winker too many Nats?
He named two Nats and two Reds, so I'm not sure what the question means.
And don't we want as many people as possible on one team?
We want to stack up in baseball. We want to stack up as much as possible. Two of those guys are on different teams, though. So you're actually doing two mini stacks as opposed to a full stack. On FanDuel, you typically want at least one. Two is great, but at least one 4-man stack in a lineup. And on DraftKings, you typically want at least one 5-man stack. However, you can do 4-4 on DraftKings. You could do 3-3-2 on FanDuel. But typically, you want to have one of the teams in tournaments, as many of them as you can on a team.
Yeah. How do you feel about Stanton with a 4-stack Houston on FanDuel GPP? Cheese. How do you feel about Stanton with a 4-stack Houston FanDuel GPP or single entry?
Don't love it. Stanton is always a play. But as far as a guy versus an extreme ground baller, Stanton's kind of last on my list of like the spend up to be different kind of plays.
Okay. Boehner says, is Vierling a good play in a FanDuel GPP? TJ, any Vierling interest?
Yes, sure do.
CLT goes blue. It's been a minute since I've seen one of these. Roth, is this an MLB player? To be fair, I'm not a baseball fan, which is what makes these interesting. Or a country music superstar / actor on Yellowstone that plays Casey Dutton. The name is Colt Keith. Colt Keith. I think that has to be not a baseball player. I think that is an actor and country singer, not a baseball player. Cheese?
It definitely should be. And in fact, I'm going to say there probably is a country singer named Colt Keith somewhere hiding out. But he also plays for the Tigers.
Damn it. We're 0 for 1 on this young season here. All right. We're almost up here into lock. If you had to pick one, Cheese, Lux, or India on DK, regardless of the stat?
I prefer Lux.
Very nice. With that, we have hit the lock. We have answered the questions. If you have any other questions, you can still get them in now. I know that I believe FanDuel locked, but DK has not, correct?
Yeah. And just the one game has started. So everything else is an hour from now.
So we'll give it a minute or two, see if anything pops up. Cheese, do we have a later slate? I know there are some late games, but
there's like a 3-gamer, I believe, or 4. I haven't looked at it yet because I was busy with early stuff. But yeah, there should be a miniature-sized later slate.
But I think we're coming back on later tonight to talk basketball, not baseball. I think it's just always a weird time of year.
The schedule, I believe, says like NBA / MLB crunch time, and so if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be an NBA show. But I'm going to be on it, so I can give like a quick little three game slate breakdown because I'm probably going to be playing it. So
okay, all right, that works. That sounds good.
I don't think I'm invited back. Am I? Like I don't think there's.
I think it's me and Taylor. So
okay, that's good. Cheese, it's a long season. Cheese, you don't want to burn yourself out on day one, man.
Don't wear me out. I'm about to go eat a bunch of wings. I think so. I'll be too tired anyway.
Cleveland Pickers is Cheese, my guy. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Jokes that go all the way back to last year. Good stuff. Hey, thoughts on a 4-2-1-1 Cincinnati 4-man with a 2-man bring back and 2 power bat studs with Luzardo? Ooh, that was a lot.
That's a lot of numbers. I mean, Luzardo and the Reds is a very chalky stack. So, make sure your other 2, like your 2 one-offs are kind of off the board because you're starting off very chalky there. But that's okay. I think that's okay if the other things you're doing are a little different.
Yeah. Your favorite non-chalk stacks today? Cheese, you mentioned there are only 2 stacks you would even consider chalky. Reds cheap, Dodgers on the expensive end, and you have a little bit of everything else. You just went spraying. But I mean, really, like I would not worry about chalk versus not chalk. Maybe a little bit with the Dodgers and the Reds, but like other than that, just play who you like, and they're all about the same. Okay. B. Scott says, Roth, can you explain what the fire emoji on Weather Edge means? I can. I put it there because I thought it would be an easy way.
Still not know. I've explained this to him so many times.
I just need to get rid of it. It's for temperatures that are hot. I put a threshold. I think I put it at like if it's over 85 degrees or something, you get the fire emoji. But people just assume it means awesome hitting weather, which it also kind of does because warm weather is good. But it's just simply, is the temperature hot? Maybe I did too much with the cool fire emoji and just confused the hell out of people. But it just means, is it hot? It's a quick way of saying, is it hot weather? There's also a wind emoji if it's windy.
But just like short answer, just look at the 3 little circles.
Yeah,
and that will tell you if it's good or bad hitting weather.
That's it.
Pitching weather, whatever.
There's little circles.
Just let Kevin have his fun with emojis, but they don't actually mean anything to help you.
They mean nothing. They literally.
Dean was so convinced last year that it was
Yeah.
like an algorithmic combination of wind, dew point, heat,
No.
stadium size, and I was like, no, dude, it just means it's over this degrees.
That's it. It's just simply. I think I put the threshold that if it's over 85, then it gets a fire emoji. And I think that's literally all it means.
Can you just
Larry
put like an emoji, like a picture of a guy like holding an umbrella over his head and sweating, and clear that it's hot and not raining, but he needs the umbrella anyway?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways I could have gone, and I chose poorly. I understand that. Yeah, we'll see if the emoji lasts through the season or not. Let's see what we got. Outside of DFS, windy is my least favorite weather. Boy, I could not agree less with you there. I love a windy day. Unless you're in Saskatoon, Canada, I bet a windy day there is not very fun, TJ.
In the
No,
wintertime.
well, I mean, it's almost always windy, so that sucks. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why it got so cold here. Is it'll be minus 20, but with the wind chill negative 45. So
It's
right now it's like 40 degrees.
Yeah, someone said they love. I don't know if I've ever heard someone before now say they love windy weather. You must be a kite flyer.
I was going to say, clearly you've never met a kite enthusiast.
I just maybe it's a weatherman thing. I love a windy day. If I can get like 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts, I'll just sit outside and just hang out in the wind.
You walk around and see how long before you get blown over. Oh, that was fantastic.
Yeah,
Knocked off my feet a little.
I really love a windy day. I truly do. What do we got here? Stanton or Logan Thomas, one-off in a DK GPP. TJ, Stanton or Logan Thomas is a one-off.
I guess Logan Thomas, not super high on either of them.
Yeah. Our guy Butthole Jenkins says, who is going triple D today? Cheese, that is a deep double dong.
Yeah, nobody.
No, yeah. Yeah. So that's a fair bet.
Unless Jorge Soler decides to.
Mr. Greg says, what is the eggplant emoji on Weather Edge? If that shows up, we've got problems. I don't believe we've got any of those.
Windy. It means windy. Roth loves it.
Yes. That's good, Cheese. Can you explain the dew point? Sure. It's, first, why not? We can explain the dew point. A dew point is just a measure of humidity. People generally use humidity percentage. It's 80% or 20%. That is the worst measurement in all of human history. It is the relative humidity is literally the dumbest thing that humans have ever concocted. It is completely useless. If you use the dew point, which is just a true measure of the moisture in the atmosphere, it's way, way better. 70 is very muggy. 50 or lower is pretty dry.
Does dew point correlate with humidity all? Are they like, is it if one's high, the other's going to be high, just it's not as accurate?
They are related. The problem is relative humidity. Shouldn't Kirk explain a dew point? Relative humidity takes it as a function of temperature. So in the morning, let's say it's 70 degrees and the dew point is 70. It shows 100%. But if the temperature goes up to 95, then it shows and the dew point stays at 70, which is really freaking muggy. It shows the humidity has suddenly dropped to 35%, which is just wrong. It's just freaking wrong and dumb. And misleading and awful. Dew point's terrible. I mean, dew point's great. Relative humidity's terrible. Don't get them confused.
And higher is better for hitting?
Yes, the higher it is, the better for hitting. 65 plus is pretty muggy and it's good for hitting. 55 or lower is fairly dry air. You'll see a lot more around 70 once we get into the summertime, and that's good for hitting. All right, we got a few more questions. I'm just going to hit a few of these because we do have to bounce out of here eventually. We can't hang out forever. I'm new to MLB DFS. Best stacks besides Astros or Dodgers? Cheese, do you have?
If not at all concerned about ownership, it's probably the Reds. I mean, I can't give you a best. Like, that's the thing. It's the Dodgers are the best. Other than that, like, they're all the same. I mean, not all the same.
That's fine.
For me, it's the Tigers, but that's not the correct answer.
Yeah. Okay.
There is no correct answer.
Okay.
That's why I'm playing literally everybody.
John says, Cheese, are you actually stacking the White Sox? And yes, you
I-
actually.
Very legitimately have 3 White stacks on DK and maybe only 1 on FanDuel. I don't recall, but absolutely. When I say I'm stacking every team, very literally, like, yes.
Okay. Kid Catastrophe says, TJ, with your Mookie money, your bets bucks, would you prefer Mookie or Otani?
Otani.
Mhm.
Hey, and let's just say this now, since we'll say it every day. All year long, people are going to ask us, who do you want if you have money? Betts, Freeman, or Otani, or Will Smith, or Muncy. Like, the Dodgers are so good, and trying to pick which Dodger is going to be a crazy mess all year. And they're all great and play all of them. But if TJ says Otani today, play Otani. Spidey says it. I don't know if Spidey says it too, or just TJ.
The truth is the answer will generally just be like, yes.
Yeah.
One of those two.
It's kind of like 3 or 4 years ago when Stanton was kind of at his peak, the same as Judge. Be like, Judge or Stanton? Like, I don't
remember
know.
that.
Like Alvarez or Tucker?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, right.
When it's teammates because they have the same matchup and they're all like super elite hitters, there will be certain days where the lefties are not as good as the righty or back and forth. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just do whatever TJ says, and then blame him if the other guy hits it.
Okay. Let's see. I feel like we're doing pretty good here. I feel like we've caught up on most of these questions. Keep in mind, it's a long season. We're going to be around. You got 6 months of this crew here walking you through baseball. And of course, we will be back tomorrow as well. So I think we are going to bounce on out of here for TJ, for Cheese, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. We will talk baseball tomorrow, and we're going to be back on later tonight to talk some hoops. You have been crunched.